After years of disappointing releases, the studio has made a drastic choice. They've decided to abandon any future DLC for Dragon Age: The Veilguard, and they're doubling down on Mass Effect 5. This isn't just another sequel. It's pretty much life or death for the studio. After the recent release of The Veilguard failing to come even close to expectations, as well as the previous failures of Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda, Bioware's reputation is hanging by a thread. For fans and for the company itself, Mass Effect 5 isn't just a comeback attempt. It's potentially the last shot to prove they can still deliver groundbreaking RPGs. So what does this all-in approach mean for Bioware, and can they actually pull it off? Well, we'll discuss that later on in the video, but first, some shameless begging you to subscribe to my channel. You looking for a channel that keeps you up to date with the latest in gaming news? Holy shit, there's a new Diablo coming. Engages in respectful discussions with its viewers, and gives honest opinions on new and upcoming releases? Yeah, I think Dragon Age: The Veilguard's a fantastic game. You should definitely buy it. Then you have come to the right place. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with all the latest in gaming, entertainment, trends, and of course, drama. Alright, back to the video. The decision to cut future content for Dragon Age: The Veilguard would not have come lightly, but the game's disappointing performances have left Bioware with little choice. Despite the initial hype, The Veilguard appears destined to not even come close to breaking even, and saw player numbers dropping rapidly after launch. Then there are the reported refund requests en masse as well. So with this in mind, it's a surprise to absolutely nobody that Bioware has pulled the plug on future content. And this is a move reminiscent of what happened with Mass Effect Andromeda, which also saw its planned DLC scrapped after a similarly lukewarm reception. Bioware's now made it clear. All available resources are moving on to Mass Effect 5. A high-stakes pivot isn't just about saving face. It's about saving the future of the studio. If Mass Effect 5 falls short, there might not be another chance for Bioware to rebuild that bond with their fanbase. They know what's on the line, and this is a bet they cannot afford to lose. So to stack the odds in their favour, Bioware has assembled a team of franchise veterans who helped shape the original trilogy. Leading the project is Michael Gamble, a producer with roots in Mass Effect 2 and 3, and although he was involved in Andromeda, fans are hopeful he'll bring the rest of his previous work and leave the missteps behind. Other familiar faces include Derek Watt, art director for the original Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic, and Dusty Everman, a narrative designer for the first Mass Effect game who is accredited with being the person responsible for the Normandy's iconic ship design. Animation veteran Parrish Lay, who worked on all 3 games in the original trilogy, and Benon Holmes, a technical designer from the early games, is also on board. This experienced lineup is a clear message to fans. Bioware is aiming to recapture what made the original Mass Effect trilogy truly unforgettable. Now, I did some further digging and discovered that Mary D. Marl was appointed the narrative designer for the game. Mary's writing credits go all the way back to Myst 3 Exile back in 2001, so she's very well experienced at writing compelling stories for video games. So with the crew from the original trilogy also on board, the story for Mass Effect 5 should be deep and compelling, hopefully. One of the biggest letdowns in Dragon Age: The Veilguard was the lack of meaningful choice. For a studio that once built its reputation on player agency, The Veilguard simply felt like a betrayal of Bioware's legacy. Players were promised a world where their decisions would shape the story, yet most of the dialogue options led to the same outcomes, railroading players down a single path. The choices felt hollow. Gone were the days where you could make morally grey or outright villainous decisions that truly impacted the world around you. Now, just compare that to the recent success of Baldur's Gate 3. Larian Studios delivered a game that embraces freedom, allowing players to be as noble or as chaotic as they wish. You could incite your own party members to fight each other, deceive allies, or even commit outright atrocities if that's the path you wanted to take. This level of choice gives players a genuine sense of control and consequence. A feeling that's completely missing from the Veilguard, and something Mass Effect 5 will need to deliver if it hopes to win back the trust of RPG fans. Fans of the original trilogy remember the weight of their decisions. Whether you chose to side with Ashley or Caden in a life or death situation, let the Rachnicrene die or live, or make a call that would influence galactic politics, the choices felt significant and often carried consequences throughout the series. Mass Effect 5 has an opportunity to reclaim that depth of choice. Bioware can't afford to simply offer superficial dialogue options that funnel players down the same storyline. If they're going to revive this franchise, they have to bring back the nuanced, morally complex choices that define the original trilogy. More than just good or evil options, Mass Effect 5 needs to let players shape their journeys in a way that feels impactful and personalised. Choices should echo throughout the game and affect relationships, alliances, and even the fate of entire worlds. If Bioware can embrace this level of freedom like Larian did with Baldur's Gate 3, they could create a truly memorable experience that respects the player's autonomy. In short, fans want a game that brings back the freedom of choice. They don't just want a story that pushes them from one plot point to the next. They want a universe where they can be the hero, the anti-hero, or even the villain if they choose. With the right team and a commitment to meaningful decision making, Mass Effect 5 could be the game that puts Bioware back on the map. But without this depth of player agency, it risks feeling like just another RPG with shallow choices. And this is a risk Bioware simply cannot afford at this stage. With these expectations laid out, the big question remains: can Bioware actually deliver on them? The studio has put together a team that includes key veterans from the original trilogy, but Mass Effect 5 is still a huge gamble for Bioware. From the technical issues of Andromeda to the narrative missteps of the Veilguard, Bioware's recent history has been a series of letdowns. Now with fan expectations soaring and the studio's reputation hanging by a thread, it's clear that this is Bioware's last chance to prove that they're still capable of greatness. Success would mean not only reviving the Mass Effect franchise, but also restoring Bioware's place as a top-tier RPG studio. Failure, on the other hand, that could signal the end of Bioware as we know it. Players are watching closely, and with every teaser, every announcement, they're waiting to see if this is the comeback they've been hoping for, or just one more stumble down the road.